How are you? Welcome to TEDxDetroit. Started with 300 people 10 years ago. 3,000 people signed up to be here today, most of which are here, some of which are still parking. And I gotta tell you, it's a beautiful thing because I think that tells the story of a great American city on the comeback. When you can fill seats, when you get butts in seats, you've changed something. And the conversation has changed too, but it all started with a word, and that word is rejection. And I wanted to talk to you today about what you're gonna learn in the next 7 minutes and 18 seconds. The clock is ticking. I'm gonna tell you why rejection is really good for you. And think about the things that are really good for you. Things that are good for you that really hurt. Exercise, eating vegetables, ugh, disgusting. I'm still an 8-year-old inside. Can't stand them. But you eat good things, you do good things because, well, even if it hurts, there's a greater good. Rejection is that greater good, my friends. And I'm here to tell you that if 35 years ago you said to a young Roop at Hamilton Elementary School in Troy, Michigan, that you're gonna be on stage in front of thousands of people in the town that you love more than any other town in the world, I would say you're crazy. And the reason I would say you're crazy is because I couldn't pronounce my S's or my T's when I was growing up. So I had a speech therapist every day, about 3 hours into my school day, pull me out of the class embarrassingly and put a pop can tab between my lip and my tongue so I could properly do my S's and my T's. I was rejected, not just by the fact that I couldn't just talk like a normal kid, but the fact that my name was Roop and it rhymed with all kinds of awful things didn't help. Mom and Dad, thank you for the name because it soon became Roop, there it is, Roop dog. The Roop is on fire. We don't need no water. Never mind. But the rejection I felt from my peers at that time actually shaped my life. It shaped the guy who I am. It shapes the fact that I'm standing in front of you today. And then there was a second rejection. The rejection came from people who looked just like me. We like to think of rejection coming from people who look differently than us. Because conventionally, when we think about racism and we think about discrimination, we think about people who are markedly different than us, who don't get us, and the fact that they look at us so differently. But the people who are telling me that people who look like me don't belong on television were Indian Americans. Indian Americans were telling me at family get-togethers and at parties, son, this isn't for you. Son, I know this is your dream. This isn't what it's about. And I would say, but look, there's Sanjay Gupta on CNN. He looks like us. And they'd say, yeah, but he's a doctor. And yes, so all the Indians were telling me, become a doctor or an engineer because it's safe. So I got rejected by my own people for 20 years until I made it to Detroit. And a lot of those wonderful people now say they always supported me growing up. And I thank them for their support and their blessings. And I know that it came from a place of fear, and I don't blame them. Immigrants coming to this country in the 70s want the best for their kids. I get it. But I'm here to tell you a little bit about the rejection and why it's actually good for you. Failure means that there's finality. Game over, you're done. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about rejection. Detroit and New Orleans, two great American cities, both faced immense rejection. Not just once, not twice, but over the course of many years. But that was a simple detour for these two great American cities and for perhaps you sitting in the audience right now. Rejection creates a blueprint for your future. It literally is the universe telling you what it is that worked and didn't work. And it gives you a blueprint so that you can move forward. And it allows you to do a couple things. The first, retreat, like a turtle in a shell. You get rejected, you move away. It could be a date, a job interview, a new idea at work, and you get rejected. So you retreat, you go back to your office. Then you rethink, what happened here? How did this work? Why didn't it work? How can I make it work better? And then you reinvent, the most powerful step in that three-prong approach, reinvention. And that reinvention comes from that blueprint that you put together. So rejection asks the question, what could it have been? Most leave it here. I say your answer is, I will make it what it should be. And that blueprint is you. 2001, 24 years old, Flint, Michigan. I'm doing the news, and I said, look, do I go to Akron, Milwaukee, or New Orleans for my next job? And this was 6 months after 9/11. Just lay out the stage for you. A brown guy applying to New Orleans, Louisiana, 6 months after 9/11. Indian American was not American enough. Where is this guy from? Who is he? So one of the biggest advertisers in New Orleans pulled and threatened to pull advertising on several spots where I was appearing on the television news. A 25-year-old Indian American from Troy, Michigan, being told he doesn't look like us, we're afraid. So the advertiser said, no way. People started publishing articles in the paper, letters to the editor down south saying, where is this guy from? Is he from the axis of evil? And I thought, I never knew that Troy, Michigan was in the axis of evil. I had no idea. All this time, I grew up there, and I had no idea. So I didn't unpack a bag. Rejection was still happening. But it sent me right to the blueprint, right to the drawing board. And I thought I have to retreat, rethink, and reinvent. And so what did I do? I took advice from my mentor, Huel Perkins, here in Detroit. He said, shake every hand you shake and be real, be genuine, be yourself. Tell them you want to do well and you want to do any speaking engagement they invite you to. So I would do anything. There I am. I don't even know what engagement that was. There was like 4 people there, and they weren't even in the audience. They were behind me. I'm like, what are we doing next year? So we did it. Ratings shot up. The advertiser called back and said, we'd like you to come shop at our place and buy some clothes. I said, no thanks, but I'm going to unpack my own clothes for my own box. And I did. The ultimate rejection happened to that great city. The people of New Orleans accepted me, invited me to more Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners than I've ever been invited to anywhere else in the world. Some of the warmest, most wonderful people. I met my wife there, Julie. 30-plus years, they asked the feds for help. They were told no. They had to go back. They said, we have to figure out a way. It's not okay. Katrina told us, this needs to change. The social injustice, the way black Americans were treated on the rooftops as Coast Guard helicopters plucked them from the top of the roofs. Rejection forced reinvention and good things happened. It led to amazing things. The schools got better. The whole population is doing better today than before Katrina because Katrina happened. Katrina was rejection. Guess what? Detroit, we all know the story of Amazon. It told us the cues: workforce, mobility, hotel space, education. We say thank you, and we retreat, we rethink, and we reinvent. I was rejected 6 times from Channel 2. Roop, you're just not you. So I came back and I said, how do I do this? The big interview was coming up. The interview was number 7. I had applied to Channel 2 7 times. The 6th time, I thought I'm going to be myself. The blueprint said I got to rethink, revive, and reinvent. And I did. But I did say in the job interview, I'm done with festivals. I'm done Mardi Gras-ing. I don't like it. I'm glad to be in Detroit. My boss said, we love festivals. I thought, great. But the bottom line is, I said, I'm not into Emmys. I don't want to win an award. I don't really care about the ratings. I know I just want to tell the stories of the people of Detroit. The blueprint said, be you, say what you believe, and stay real. I did it, and I stand here 9 years later, anchoring the 5:30 and 6:30 news alongside the very mentor who told me to shake every hand, who's in the audience today, Huel Perkins. And I do that not despite rejection. I do it because of rejection. I invite you, when rejection writes you a letter, to write one back. Make it a thank you note, and then make it your blueprint. Thank you. Love you, Detroit.